Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Journeyman Football Manager with Zebu Nation. And here we have a very, very special episode. And it's very special because we have done it. That's right, the Wolves have been promoted to the Premier League. It's first time I've ever done that with a team, promote them from below and into the Premier League. I've never done that. I've only actually managed in the Premier League one time in all the saves that I've played. So this is going to be a relatively new experience for me. But before we get into that, let's look at how we did it. And we did it with style, honestly. 90 points this season, finished in second place comfortably over Derby by 15 points. West Ham, they were comfortable over us by 8 points. It showed you just how dominant they were. But you know what? They were a team that was relegated from the Premier League, so they still had lots of money, they still had lots of good players, and it's kind of to be expected. They were the favorites, but we kind of came out of nowhere, at least, as far as the bookies and the newspapers and all that were concerned. They figured we'd finish mid-table, maybe we'd push for a playoff spot, but nobody expected us to get automatic promotion, except at the beginning of the season, I said that this team, that's what I wanted out of this season. I wanted this team to get one of those 2 automatic promotion slots. Now, I didn't say that to the chairman, of course, just in case it didn't happen. But, hedging my bets a little bit there. But, you know what? I said it, and that counts for something. But more importantly, I planned for it. And what's really great about this season, what's really fulfilling, is the fact that the way that I planned it is the way that it happened. It's like that old saying, I love it when a plan comes together. Like the A-team, that's exactly what happened here. Because what I said, I brought in a bunch of strikers, I brought in a bunch of young, exciting players, and I said I wanted to score goals this season. And score goals is exactly what we did. Look at our record here. We finished 27 wins, 9 draws, 10 losses, but our goal differential of plus 41, that's huge. We blew away the rest of the league with the exception of West Ham, who had an even more tremendous goal differential of plus 45. And, it was just out of this world the way we played. And we can look at the team stats a little bit here. And look at, we scored 94 goals this season. That's huge. I mean, it's almost 100 goals in one season. I've never come close to that before, but we really dominated. But if you notice a little difference there, West Ham only scored 76, but they finished with a much better goal differential than us. And that's because our defense was not particularly spectacular. I want to say it was our goaltending that let us down, but I don't know that I can say that for certain. I know they made some big saves here and there, but I thought our defense was pretty solid, but there were times when they just let in some goals that I was not happy with. So maybe better goalkeeping could make up for that, because honestly, this system that I play, the diamond formation, I usually do rely on having dominant goalkeepers, and I didn't have that this season. I had some older guys. They were good. They were savvy veterans, but maybe they're not that dominant presence who can make up for maybe the lack of some strategic lacking that this diamond formation has defensively. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But as you can see, the other stats that we had were pretty much the same as far as I could tell. Headers won, we're second place. That's fine, 63%. That's where we like to be. Possession, no, we finished 6th. Not terrible, not great, but that's pretty good considering we played counterattack most of the season. The strategy we used was to start out the game in counterattack. Just in case the team came forward, we could catch them, get an early goal. Then what we would do in the second half is move to a more possession style. If we had the lead, we could waste time. If we didn't have the lead, we could try to work the ball downfield and get an opportunity and score. But, starting out on the counterattack just really worked for us this season, so I kept it up, and that kind of lowered our possession rate a little bit. Tackles won. Not on this list. Our tackling was not particularly good this season, but, it was, well, I can't even say it was good enough. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't on this list. so it's not very good. Least conceded, 5th in the league, which is crazy to think. The fact that West Ham just blew everybody away defensively. I mean, look at that, 31 allowed. So maybe that makes our defense look a little bit more in line with the rest of the league. I mean, the rest of the league wasn't that much better than us. 48, 47, 46 goals allowed for Middlesbrough, which, that's reasonable. But the fact that West Ham only allowed 31 goals in 29 games, that's pretty good for them. And then the fact that they scored so many on top of that. Not as many as we did, obviously, but, just they had a much more balanced team, a much more well-rounded team. And it showed in the standings, so that's fine. Most shutouts, West Ham, again, 25 shutouts. That's crazy for this number of games. We were obviously not on this list. Derby and Leeds tie for second with 17. So it just shows you the dominance of West Ham's defense and their goalkeeping and all of that stuff. Premier League level, they at least kept up that part of their team. I don't know how many players they had to sell off and all that kind of stuff. I do know that they spent money, but I don't know, how much money or what caliber of players they had to keep and drop from the Premier League. We'll look at that, I guess, a little bit later. Most fouls. This is where we came in. This was one of our Achilles heels this season. Second in the league in fouls made, 643. Not as many as Rotherham. I mean, they had 658. That's a huge number. 94 yellow cards for them. That's an astronomical number, considering we had 86, which is still pretty bad. And 3 red cards. It really hampered us near the end of the season, but our depth came through, and it didn't hurt us too much. It's just we had some guys. When we look at the stats later, you'll see how many yellow cards they had. It was kind of just ridiculous. Most passes completed, West Ham. They played a possession style. Once they got up on you by a goal, they just, basically strangled the life out of the game. And it was very difficult to beat West Ham this season. And again, that showed in the record. Most crosses, we were second in the league in crosses. Only 12%, which is not a very good percentage at all. It was good enough for first place or second place, I guess. Our fullbacks did a yeoman's job this year crossing. Also, our strikers did pretty well in crossing. So you got to give it up to those guys for sure. Now, hitting the target, 6th place in hitting the target. That's not the worst thing in the world. I'd rather it be up at the top, of course. Reading at the top with 47%. We were down there with 44%, but still, that's a acceptable average, I guess. But still, it wasn't exactly the way we wanted the way we wanted to play, but the end results were what we wanted. We wanted more goals, and that's exactly what we got. I'll run down the individual stats here a little bit. Not stats, competitions. We'll just look at the league stats here, and just do a quick run through of the guys at the top of the list. Of course, Danny Bath, 39 appearances, 3 substitutions. The guy played 1 million games this season, our captain, and he played pretty well. You look at his average over here, 7.24. That's very good for playing those many games. A lot of our core players played a lot of games this season, so we're very happy about that. Not a lot of injuries taking too much out of us. But look at this. Look at these goal numbers. This is ridiculous. Gantz, 23 goals. Diamantakos, 19. Akpom, 13. So those strikers we signed in the offseason paid off huge dividends. Of course, Gantz came back, had another huge season. Jamie Walker, coming off a Player of the Year last year, got 11 goals, 9 assists, even better than last season. So who knows? He might be in the running for that Player of the Year award. I know Gantz is in the running for it. I didn't see if either of them won it. Maybe I didn't advance far enough. But still, just look at all the goals down the list. Deco with 9. I mean, that's our 4th striker scoring 9 goals. That's pretty good. McGinn, another midfielder with 6 goals. And then we had some other guys chip in. Zelalem, Vassell, Danny Bath with 2 goals. off set pieces. He played very well on set pieces. You know, he's got that jumping reach, and we were able to aim at him in the box, and he came through for us a couple of times. Assists-wise, Walker, Gantz, Garbutt, Diamantakos, you know, our leading assists. Jamie Walker was all over the place this season, getting some very good through balls. Gantz making plays. Garbutt out on the wing, the fullback. So we just had a lot of players. Look at the youngster, Scott Tanser, with 6 assists. You know, he's definitely a reserve type dude, but with the 12 crossing, he just put the ball in the right spot and got several nice assists for us. McGinn, Zalalam, again, our midfield played very well, and it was just an outstanding season offensively. Danny Bath, 7 players of the match. That was a record for the team, so that's pretty cool that our captain got that. Pass percentage, look down here. Not a great pass percentage. A little low 80s for most of our guys, but you know, still pretty decent. Tackling, Garbutt pretty decent. Blake, the young defensive midfielder, okay. And then the rest of our players, decent but not great numbers. Shot percentage, we saw that before. Diamantakos, 60%. Right behind him was Noah Deco. Deco probably didn't play in enough games to qualify. And then Gantz behind him with 55%. So again, our main strikers, even Walker with 54%, hitting over 50% of their shots, or at least over 50% of their shots on target. So that's all you can ask for. And Diamantakos with 60% is out of this world, considering his finishing is only 13. So it's not like he's a world-class finisher. He just gets the ball on target and hopes for the best. Now here's what I was talking about, yellow cards. Look at this. Connor Cody, 15 yellow cards. He got suspended for like the last 3 games of the season. Luke Garbutt, 13. He also got suspended for several games. Ben Marshall, 10. Sais with 9. So just a ton of yellow cards. 2 red cards also for Garbutt. And 1 for Keith Blake, the youngster. That got him sent back to the under-23s when he got that just a foolish red card in one of our games, and I was just not happy with him. Let's see, then average rating, Noah Deco coming off the bench with a 7.4 rating. Every game we put him in, he just produced. I mean, look at that, 9 goals in 10 starts with 2 substitute appearances. That's a lot of production for a guy coming off the bench, so very happy with him. Diamantakos, Alfie Mawson, one of our late signees at the central defender. He only got in 9 games, but the games he played, he rated very well. So overall, the players were just very good, and everything worked out perfectly this season. Pretty much how we planned it. Not exactly how I planned it, but close enough for me to take pride in the plan anyway. The players obviously had to execute, but you know, this is Football Manager, not like FIFA or anything like that. So the manager is allowed to take credit, I think. So we did very, very good. We can go down the checklist here a little bit before we get into some of the stuff. You know, one thing we'll look at is the schedule, because I got a little excited about the end of the season here. We were, you know, up and down, honestly, near the end of the season. After we got knocked out of the FA Cup, it sort of rattled our confidence a little bit. We lost a couple games in there. So I was kind of playing match after match, and it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, I'll play one more match, and then I'll play one more match. And then I got to this match down... Where did I get to? I think it was Aston Villa. Or maybe it was even sooner than that. I don't know. It was one of these matches in here where... Ooh, look out. All right, let's go back to the schedule. It was one of those matches down near the bottom here where... I didn't read the email where it said, you know, if you win this match, you secure your automatic promotion spot. So after I won the match, I was like, oh, we already secured promotion, and I didn't record the match. So, like, what's the point of showing one of the other games at the end of the season where there's going to be no drama to it, right? So I figured with this final video, this will just be a season recap, and we don't necessarily need to show a game. There's no game to play. We could show some highlights maybe, but I don't know that that's necessary. If you've watched any of our other games, you've probably seen more highlights than you'll ever need. So you can go back and watch our previous game, get a feel for how we play and all that stuff. But for now, we're just gonna run through the checklist, run through the off season, look at some of the awards and stuff like that. So when we go to the checklist, of course, we start with finances. And our finances, something interesting has happened over here. If you look at our budget, the board has come through since we got promoted. They sent me a little email saying we're boosting the budget for next season. And look at that, we got a $49 million payroll. They added, approximately $18 million to the budget. But where they really came through was the transfer budget. Holy cow, $35 million. I mean, I think our transfer budget, I think they added like $30 million to the transfer budget, so that's pretty crazy. Dropped our overall balance down to $9 million, but it's still in the positive, so that's pretty good. Our chairman is being very gracious because he hasn't had to put in a lot of money to keep this club afloat. This season is a championship level season for us, and we didn't break the bank. So I think the chairman was appreciative of that and said, now we're in the Premier League, we're going to give you some resources to go ahead. Now, this payroll budget might not be what we need to compete, certainly at the highest level, when the highest level teams are spending, 180, 200 million payroll budget. So we're going to probably be at the lower end of the spectrum in terms of budget, but I think it'll be enough if we're prudent and if we get some good deals on guys. I think we can at least compete, certainly avoid relegation. That's minimum standard for next season. I think this payroll definitely gives us a chance to avoid relegation, considering how well this team did against Premier League teams this season with the roster we have as is. I think we won three of the 5 Premier League teams that we played against. We beat them. So, including the preseason match. Yeah, that sounds about right. So anyway, we could compete even with this budget. So the fact that we got another $18 million on top of that could let us bring in at least one superstar, maybe 2 mid-level guys, and improve the team that way and help us stay afloat. So I think money-wise, we're looking good. Projection, turnover, end of the season 2018-2019. We're looking pretty good. We're looking pretty stable there. Expenditures, they're looking for expenditures to go up. This is based on our contracts and stuff like that. So I don't know how much. I don't think they're making too many projections in terms of what we're going to sign. But, it's interesting to see some of these projections. And we'll see what happens when we get that Premier League money. I don't know if we'll get it immediately or how much of it we'll get. I assume we're going to get a smaller percentage based on the fact that I don't know that they split it up equally every year. I don't think they do. I saw an article. I was reading up on this. I read an article about some of the team's budgets because I wanted to see where we fell in terms of budgets. They didn't show every team in the league, but they showed some of the top teams in the league. And some of them were kind of close to us, 60, 70, 80 million around there. And it seemed like each of them had different amounts of television money that they received. So I think they base it on market share. Who knows what they base it off of, but I don't think we're going to be getting a huge amount. So we can't count on that necessarily, but I think we can count on somewhat of a boost. Just getting in the Premier League, we're going to get more money than the Championship. There's no doubt about that. All right, board-wise, obviously they're happy with us, very secure. Only 66%. And part of that is due to club philosophies. I mean, I don't know what more they wanted out of us. Board is pleased with the overall performance in competitions. 67% we weren't predicted to finish top, and they even sent an email saying they're surprised, and this is a great season and all that stuff. So I'm not exactly sure. Matches, only 53% matches. The fans are satisfied with the team. Club stature, obviously. The board are happy with the increased stature. So getting promoted has increased our stature a little bit, I guess, but just not enough for the board to be too happy. I don't know. Maybe this board is just a little stingy. I dealt with that at Dallas FC. They just had a stingy board when it came to praise. And I guess you just have to roll with your board, but they're still happy enough to keep us. Obviously, club finance, they're through the roof. Board is absolutely delighted with your control of the payroll budget and asks that you ensure that your prudence doesn't prevent the club from attracting the kind of players it needs to progress. And then squad harmony was second best. The board are very delighted. The togetherness that's being shown. So those were some of the cool things. The club philosophies, though, I changed them mid-season because the board wanted us. We were really low mid-season because the board wanted us to go out and get young prospects, but we already had a ton of young prospects. So I tried to change it around to say, well, let's, instead of signing young prospects, how about we develop young prospects? And they weren't too receptive to that, so I don't know. We'll see that at the beginning of next season. Maybe we can talk to the board again and see what's up there. But for now, club philosophies are holding us back a little bit. All right, club-wise, still 3-star. I guess our reputation has gone up at some point, but not enough to get that extra half-star. Other than that, we're looking pretty good. Transfers. This is where it'll get a little bit interesting. As you can see here, we have an outbound transfer. Romain Saiz got signed away from us by Huddersfield. Again, this was another chairman decision where he said, look, this is too good a deal. We're going to let him go. So as soon as this takes place, we're going to get another 14 to 20 million in the transfer budget. So that'll be pretty huge. That's another pretty good signing, I think. But, we lost a defensive midfielder. The good news about this is that even though we signed this deal around the transfer window, it didn't take effect until after the season. So I think the chairman agreed to it after the transfer window, so that's why it didn't go through. But it didn't affect us on the field, and that's what's important. It'll affect us next year because we'll be without Saiz, who is one of our better players. There's no doubt about that. 3.5 stars. He is 29 years old, so he's getting a little older. And honestly, I'm not that upset that he's leaving. It's just you don't like weakening the team just before you go into the Premier League. But other than that, it was pretty good. Here's our transfer history. We made 3 moves near the end of the transfer window, and most of them defensive. We brought in Alfie Mawson, who you saw on the stats chart. He was looking pretty good. He only played 9 games for us. We paid a lot of money for 9 games. I'm going to be honest with you. We overpaid for this dude, $6.5 million from Swansea, for a 25-year-old rotational player, not even a starter. But he was just too good to pass up, even though we overpaid for him. And at the time, we were really desperate for defensive central defenders because our team was giving up a lot of goals, and we had an injury to our central defense. So I was just grasping at straws and trying to bring in the best dudes I could. And part of that was also Kyle McFasdeen from Burton. We only paid $115,000 for this guy, so he was a bargain. But at 32 years old, he's not worth a lot. We signed him as a backup, just a pure insurance policy. But as an insurance policy, he's pretty good. Even for an older guy, his physical stats have kept up pretty decently. He's got 12 pace, 15 strength, 13 jumping reach. That's all we need out of a central defender. His mentals are pretty good. Whoa, where'd he go? His mentals are pretty good. He's got the determination that we like. And then, of course, he's got tackling, marking, heading, which, again, is all you need for a central defender in terms of technical skills. At least that's the bare minimum. So he was, again, another, I don't want to say a panic buy, but he was an insurance buy. Just in case we had another injury at central defense, we would have a guy who was capable back there. And then finally, the real bargain of the deal of the season, Callum McGregor, another Scotsman. So we got a lot of Scotsmen on our midfield. And I don't know if I should say that, honestly. But anyway, Callum McGregor, attacking midfield or central midfield. We played him mostly in the central midfield box-to-box role. He's just an interesting young guy, 25 years old, so he might get a little bit better. But he's got decent physicals, very good mental stats, teamwork, work rate, determination. Again, we got a very determined squad, and this guy fits right in. And then his technicals are also pretty good. Long shot ability, very good. Finishing, very good. So coming out of the midfield, he can do some stuff offensively, penalty taking, crossing corners. So he gives us a lot of versatility in the midfield. And for $235,000, he was a bargain. So that's pretty good. And then outgoing transfers, we had, of course, the big deal was Dominic Yorfa going to West Ham for $20 million. Potential $20 million anyway, 13.5 at least. That was kind of a blow to our team. Yorfa was playing so well, one of our better players, definitely a marginal Premier League caliber player. At only 23 years old, he still had room to get better, and this was a huge blow for us to lose this guy. But luckily, we had Marshall in reserve, and Marshall played pretty well at defensive back, even though he's more of a winger. But still, he played well enough. For us to weather the storm of losing Dominic. And that's pretty much what happened. We sent a bunch of dudes out on loan, especially some of our younger players. And then, of course, you saw that transfer with Saiz. That was our other big deal. So the transfer market was interesting at the end of the season, and it seems like our lot in life is going to be to keep hold of our best players as good as possible, or as well as possible, near the end of the transfer deadline, because some of those bigger teams are going to come hunting and try to steal those guys away from us and just dangle a bunch of money in front of our chairman. So I don't think we're ever going to keep them unless our club stature really goes through the roof. I don't think we'll be able to keep these guys. Although being in the Premier League will help us some, but if Arsenal or some of those other teams come calling, I think we'll lose some of our best players. Let's see. What else is next? Training staff team reports. I think we can go to the inbox now and take a look at some of this stuff. So we have the annual end of the season award ceremony took place, and we got some award winners here. The youngster of the season, Chuba Akpom, the guy played very well for us, scored a lot of goals. One of our off-season signings that played very well. Callum McGregor, our signing of the season at only $236,000 from Celtic. He played very well. He started several matches at the end of the season and, just came in right away, slotted right nicely in there. I don't know if he's played with some of our other players, our other Scottish midfielders on international teams or not. He's only got 2 caps, 5 under 21 caps, so not played a lot, but he's probably familiar with some of our other dudes, and, he just fit in very well. And, of course, players of the season, Danny Bath, the captain, 53%, blew everybody away. He's everybody's favorite. He played a lot of games. He rated well. He was really the heart of our defense, even though our defense didn't, I guess, I have to be less harsh on them seeing what West Ham did. But still, they didn't play tremendous, but they played pretty well. And anyway, Danny Bath, team captain, everybody's favorite. Diamantakos finished second, and Simone Gantz third. Our strikers who scored all of our goals, of course, they're going to be up there. But then sort of the surprise here was Connor Cody with the goal of the season versus Southampton. We can take a look at that. Here we are. There's our diamond formation if you're unfamiliar with it. Marshall and Garbutt going down the sidelines. Cody coming up from his ball-winning midfielder position. Sometimes he played central mid, but mostly he played central mid, but his role was often central mid, but mostly his role was ball-winning midfielder. So, he came up in support and got a nice goal here. We'll take a look at the highlight, hopefully, shortly. I don't know why it takes so long to load one goal. Come on, match engine. See what you got. See what you can do. We're still rocking 60 frames per second, so that's not the problem. We're just sort of loading this highlight. Come on, buddy. Come on, pal. No, it's not. It's going to take its sweet old time. So, yeah, Connor Cody, I don't know where he's going to be in the lineup next season. He might be more of a reserve player. He started quite a bit, but his time was taken. So there's Garbett with the assist, and Cody just sort of a slap shot there in hockey terms. That was interesting. Can we take another look at that? No, I guess not. There's no replay. One and done. So yeah, just a shot from the semicircle. I mean, that was a pretty much a rocket shot. But yeah, good goal. How many goals did he score this season? Let's take a look at the stats. Top goal scorer was Gantz, of course, with 27. Highest average, Ekpom, 7.35. Most assists, Garbett. You saw him. I don't know if he got credit for that assist since, it was a long shot and he took a dribble. But anyway, he had 11 assists. Best pass percentage, interesting, Hiram Boateng. He didn't play a lot this season, but maybe he should play a little more. Although I don't think he's really Premier League level. So I don't know where his status is going to be next season. But most player of the match awards, Danny Bath with 8. Most yellow cards, Connor Cody and Luke Garbett both with 15 yellow cards and most red cards. So I don't know, sort of ignominious there at the bottom, but something to keep track of nonetheless. Carl Akem played most of our season. This was an honor season for Akem. In real life, he's dealing with leukemia, and everybody is definitely on board supporting him. So you can go to the Wolves website if you want to and find ways to support Carl and support other leukemia patients in the United Kingdom. And that's definitely what we dedicated our season to. Carl Akem. We can take a look at him. Take a look at his stats for this season. Played 29 appearances. That's a lot of games. 8 shutouts. That's pretty good, especially considering our defense was a little shaky, especially at the early season. So he played very well for us, or at least well enough to secure us promotion. So you got to hand it to him. It's kind of like your quarterback, right? Your quarterback gets credit for the wins or the losses. It's the same way with goalkeepers. At least, in the NHL, goaltenders often get a lot of praise for wins and a lot of criticism for losses, and I think that happens in soccer as well. Maybe not quite to that level because they've got a much bigger goal to defend than a hockey goalie, but still, he's kind of the quarterback of your team, quarterback of the defense anyway, and Carl played very well in that role this season. Now we can take a look at our inbox, I suppose, go through some of the things. Season review. Here's the season review email that we got. The Wolves had been expected to be in the running for a playoff place, but performed even better than expected in securing a promotion to the Premier League. That was from football365.com. We lost in the 6th round of the FA Cup to Bournemouth, another Premier League team. We were runner-up in the Sky Bet Championship. That was a great run for us in the Sky Bet. We beat some very good teams. We beat Liverpool, beat some excellent teams, but we lost out in the end to Arsenal. Although we did beat them one game, we just lost to them in the second leg. And then the EFL Cup, Sky Bet Championship. These names I'm still not so familiar with them. Sky Bet Championship is the regular season, and the EFL Cup was where we lost to Arsenal. So anyway, we finished semifinals there, runner-up in the Sky Bet Championship. Very good. Average attendance went up mid-season. We were only getting about 15,000. So, we got to 75% full. We had several sellouts at the end of the season. We had several television games at the end of the season, so it definitely saw that winning helped our reputation. Now it's going to be real interesting to see what happens when we get in the Premier League. Are we going to need to expand the stadium or not? Will we be able to expand the stadium? I don't know, because our stadium is only 30,000, and I don't know that that's big enough to compete at the Premier League level, but I don't know that we want to invest all those resources if we can't stay up for a few seasons. So maybe after 2 or 3 seasons, if we stay up, we'll think about that. I don't know. It'll be up to the board, honestly. Total players used, 30 players used. I love to use a lot of players, so that's just my style. I don't want players on my team that I'm not going to use, and if I got the players, I want to use them. It's sort of double-edged sword there. I don't like a lot of fat sitting on the bench, but if they are on the bench, I'm going to use them. So 30 players, that's pretty good. That's about my average. In the MLS, I use around that, maybe a few more in the MLS, 31 or 32. But 30 is a good number, so I'm happy about that. End of season confidence review, of course. The team's fantastic overall performance has been a particular highlight. They believe that Courtney House's departure could be regarded as poor piece of judgment. I couldn't stop that. Courtney wanted to leave. That was at the very beginning of the season. One of our promising young central defenders. Maybe we could get him back. I don't know, but he wanted to leave. Where did he end up? He ended up at Burnley. What's Burnley up to these days? 13th in the Premier League. So we're going to see him next year. Maybe we can get him back. I don't know. But he was only 23 years old. He was a very good player for us, but he wanted to leave, and he didn't think that he obviously didn't think we were going to get promoted this season, so he took off. But we replaced him, so that was fine. End of the season scouting report. Our scouts are telling us to find some goalkeepers and some defenders, so we're definitely going to look into that. Season injury report. We had a lot of minor injuries this year, a lot of injuries to players who weren't necessarily starters, or definitely a lot of youth injuries. So maybe we need to work on our youth academy. But the big season-ending injury here was Ethan Ebanks-Landell had a crushing injury. Look at that. He's still injured for another 5 to 6 months. So he might not even make it to the beginning of next season. He'll still be coming off rehab, so it's good that we got all those central defenders and we can kind of let Ebanks heal and maybe come back at mid-season or something like that. I don't know. Training review, who cares? Honestly, it's fine. Everybody's happy. We got one unhappy person, but that's fine. Preseason date to be started. I usually like to start 5 weeks in advance. The Wolves have gone on vacation until preseason begins. Back for training Monday, July 1st. That's fine. That sounds fine. All right, player recruitment. More players will scout a bunch of these dudes. But here's an interesting one. We got the board wishes to a meeting to improve the youth level. That's definitely what we're up to. We would like to gauge your opinion on whether clubs should strive to achieve a higher grade for the academy. Absolutely. We're going to need those academy players to come through if we're going to compete at this price range in the Premier League. We're delighted you agree with our suggestion. We'll start putting plans into motion. All right. Youth level to be increased. This will aim to make the necessary upgrades to apply for a youth academy to be classified as level 1. So I think level 1 is the highest you can go. I don't think there's a level 0, so this should be good for us. And then finally, we have the end of season team meeting. Let's hold a team meeting here. End of season team meeting. Congratulations on getting promoted. It's a fantastic achievement. Before you all go away for a well-deserved break, I want to let you know that I'm going to keep the faith in this team. I believe you can keep us up next year. Let's take a look at some of these guys. What do they want? They want to commit their future. Happy the club is in the Premier League. Proud of the promotion. Preseason training schedule started too early this season. That's Ben Marshall, of course. Performing well. Wants to commit his future to the club. Yeah. I'm just seeing if anybody is talking about next season. Is proud of the club. Happy to see the club performing well. Who's that? Tanser wants to commit future to the club. Of course he does. So the question is, where do we put our expectations for next year? Is it just, I believe you can keep us up? Congratulations on winning promotion. We have to focus on staying up next season with the right additions. Finish mid-table. It's promoted. Hopefully when we get back, there'll be some new faces that can help us get to a mid-table. So the question is, do I tell them that they can do it, or do I tell them that with some additions we could do it? I do plan on making some additions, so I don't want to lie to the boys and just tell them that nobody's going to get replaced. So I'll do this one. You've done brilliantly to get us promoted this season. You all deserve a good break. Hopefully when you get back, there will be some new faces around here that can help us get mid-table. Okay. So, Demetrius thinks that's good. These are our more aggressive dudes over here. Diamantakos, Boateng. A lot of the younger players, although Saiz is leaving and Diamantakos, he's always had Premier League type aspirations. Now I'm concerned about these dudes. Our captain says doesn't think mid-table is realistic. These guys over here, including McGinn and Gantz, Akpom, Mawson, some of our more important players, Cody, Deco, and John McGinn, who's one of our better players, they're glad we'll be strengthening so that we can keep that. Let's see. I think I'll encourage the guys. I'm very confident we can do what I said and won't settle for anything less than your best to helping us achieve it. That may cheese off a fair number of our team, but we're a very aggressive squad. I think with a little bit of convincing, I think these guys will come around to us. I still think it's too ambitious for us, Danny Bath. It's the sort of overall reaction I was hoping for, although I respect those of you who don't agree with me. I wasn't expecting that sort of overall reaction, but I respect those of you who don't agree with me. So, is this the overall reaction? I don't want to down these guys. For them and more important players here, I guess. Walker, Cam, Bath. Walker, Bath, and Marshall. Those are very important players. Garbett, extremely important. McGregor, also pretty important. We'll do this one. I wasn't expecting that sort of overall reaction, but I respect those of you who don't agree with what I have to say. See, that wasn't the overall I was hoping for, although I'm grateful to those of you who do agree with me. That sounds better. That sounds more of what I'm interested in, because I am grateful to these guys. They're going to pull the rest of the squad with them. I have faith. So there we go. So we got several guys. They went from happy to really happy to still really happy. And these guys to really happy to kind of happy. Kyle Vassell not feeling too good, but he's not going to be around anyway. So we didn't lose much. We lost a little bit of enthusiasm. These guys are a little bit nervous to have raised expectations next season, but that's fine. So, that's pretty much our season in a nutshell. I don't know if we can continue and maybe see something interesting. I don't know that we've gotten through the playoffs, so I don't know which of the third team to get promoted. I guess we'll find that out pretty soon. But I am considering some roster changes next season. We have some youngsters that need to get playing time. A lot of our young fellas who shown a lot of promise, they got Premier League level potential anyway. Maybe not Premier League level talent. But if this was MLS, I would put those guys in the starting lineup without a heartbeat. 18 years old, got 4-star potential, 4.5-star potential. Even if they're only 2-star guys, I'm putting them in the lineup and watching them improve. I don't know if that's how I'm pretty sure that's not how it's done in the Premier League, especially with the number of guys we've got. But, we can take a look at the tactics here. I set this up a little bit. We've got Blake, the young goalkeeper. He's only a 2-star guy, but he's got, 3.5, maybe even 4.5-star potential. Carl Hornshaw, the fullback, 2 stars, but he's got 4.5, 4-star, maybe even 5-star potential. Same with Keith Blake. Blake is only 17 years old right now, but he'll be 18 next year. Only 1.5-star currently, 4-star potential. That's a lot of youth to have in the starting lineup, especially all season long. But I got to get these guys playing time at high levels. So maybe, loans are definitely a potential out there, because one guy who's done well on loans is another youngster, Bradley Carr. We didn't see much of him this year, also, because he was out on loan, but also because he's a winger, and we didn't play with the winger formation. But this next season, we might play with the winger formation a little bit, just to get some of these players in here, like Carr. And he's a young guy who has improved a lot out there on loan to a high-level team. But I think he's hit a bit of a wall. He stopped at 2.5 stars. So I don't know exactly what to do with this guy. I gotta, he's come up through our academy. He's an excellent player, got excellent potential. He's a cost-saving measure. There's no doubt about that. If he can improve and get up here to this 3-4-star, even 5-star potential, that would be huge for us. At least we could sell him and make a ton of money at the very least. But I don't know. It's a conundrum for next season. That's another thing we didn't look at. Our under 18s, we got another crop of those guys in here. We got, a few good players. Our best player here is Rob Oyibo, 15 years old, central defender. So we're going to need this guy in a couple of years, but he's already got some pretty good stats here. 11 jumping reach. He's only 5'9". Maybe he'll grow an inch or two. That would be helpful. But the fact that he already has minimal range jumping reach, anybody with less than 11 jumping reach, I don't even look at for central defense. So he's got that minimum jumping reach. Hopefully he can increase that. But he's already got 13 tackling, 13 work rate, 13 positioning, leadership, decision-making. This is a nice young prospect. Only 15. There's no way he's getting in the starting lineup. He's not going to be around for at least another 3 years. But still, that shows we got some good potential in our academy. Bates, Aspen, Irwin. Irwin, I'm trying to retrain him as a fullback because he's only got 7 jumping reach. And even that's marginal. I don't even know if I like 7 jumping reach as a fullback, but he's got 16 tackling. If we could get that guy out on the wing, he would help our defense tremendously. He can play with either foot, so he should be able to play left or right fullback if we can get him trained out there. But at 17 years old, we're not going to be doing that in the Premier League for sure. But anyway, hopefully when our academy gets another level, we'll have even better star guys. We'll have 4-star, 5-star potential guys. And then we can build for the future. I'm not talking like a journeyman coach here. I'm talking like I'm going to stay here forever, but maybe I will. That's just my personality. I love to build a team. And now that we're in the Premier League, I don't know what kind of offer to come around would get us out of here. Maybe, if some of the big name teams come calling for us, that, we'll probably have to go because this is supposed to be a journeyman season or series, but it'll be with a heavy heart because I do like the Wolves and I'm very happy to be their manager. All right, so I think that'll be it for this season. I talked quite a lot, much more than I expected. I expected this to be maybe a 15, 20-minute video. I'm pretty sure I've gone over half an hour now. So we're going to end it there. We're going to look forward to next season in the Premier League with the Wolves. So if you enjoyed this video, if you're interested in next season, please like, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers before the end of the year of 2017. So please do that so that I can get a real URL from YouTube. You can't have a real URL until you reach 100 subscribers. So hopefully I can do that. It's not a big deal if I don't, but it's a goal. We all need goals, and that's mine. So until next time, until next season, the Premier League season, I will see you later. Bye-bye.